Hi, my loves. Welcome to day two of the code series, where we're diving into your cyclical codes and how you can use them to tap into limitless energy, which is what we talked about in day one. And today we're going to talk about how you can use your cyclical codes to revolutionize the way that you work. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Olivia Heine. I'm an NLP and sacred success coach, and I'm really here to help you revolutionize the way that you work so that you can start tapping into more energy, more time, and more aligned success. What we talked about yesterday, one of the main things that I see happen so often, and I personally know this for myself, is we get so caught up in wanting to create the outcome that we want. So, the success, the goal that we have to land the job or sign the clients or launch the business. And ultimately, what that tends to lead to is getting the result, but it feeling really stressful or not being able to hold it or keep the result, right? And that comes back to the way that you feel around your success, the beliefs that you have around your success. And so many of us really have been conditioned, hello, in the way that we do success, which feels really like it's coming from this place of pressure, of force, of needing to make things happen. And what we're really doing when we revolutionize the way we work is we're tapping into success that gets to feel good, success that gets to flow, the kind of work style that really allows you to be in it. We're not creating this heightened level of stress. And again, yesterday in day one, we talked about how we actually block ourselves from this limitless energy, how we block ourselves from actually opening up ourselves to more success, to being able to create more, to have the capacity to hold more. And if we don't feel like we can manage it now, if we're feeling stressed now, if we're trying to make it happen now, then of course it's going to continue to expand on that feeling. So we get to the outcome and we're still stressed, we're still overwhelmed, we're still burnt out. Like just getting the thing that we want, like the money or the clients, isn't going to change the feeling experience that you have around it. Does that make sense? So today we're talking about the codes to cyclically revolutionize your work. And I actually have an entire podcast episode coming out today, or it's already out. And I really dive into what these three codes are. And these three codes are the womb. So your womb space as a woman, the moon, and the seasons. Hello, lovely. And like I said, I'm not going to dive into specifically what those do for you because the podcast episode breaks it down in immense detail. But what I really want to touch on is the power of aligning yourself with these codes and what that starts to create for you in your work and with your success. Because essentially, what we talked about yesterday is that we are working in a linear environment and model of work. That is what society teaches us. It is the cycle of the day, or this linear approach of, okay, I wake up in the morning, I have to get everything done, and by the end of the day, it's done. Like we have a starting point, we have an end point, and that's it. It gives us this feeling of scarcity of time, of scarcity of energy. It feels really constrictive. It feels like we're rushing against something to make it happen. And what we really are shifting into when we revolutionize the way that we work through your cyclical codes is a cyclical approach to success. And this means really tapping into your inherent cycles. And so when I talk about the three cyclical codes, which I do in this week's episode of the Essence Shown podcast, is we're diving into looking around us in our environment and within us in our bodies to see how do they run, right? Like what is the flow? How do they function? Like our bodies are constantly supporting us and moving us through the day, making sure that we survive. And the same thing is happening in nature. Like it is constantly evolving and growing and thriving in its own way. And so if those things are all naturally happening, what is the cycle? What is the framework? What is the foundation for how it's working to be so successful, right? Like if the plants are growing and the expansion is happening with the budding and the blooming and the cycles that they go through, like that's success, right? So we can look at these cycles around us, and what they do is they reflect back to us what's actually happening in our bodies. And this is, again, a way that we can take this knowledge, take this inherent wisdom that exists within us and around us, and actually use it and apply it to how we're showing up, the way that we're actually moving through our lives, and the way that we can execute on our own success. And so, looking at these three codes, we can actually use them and move with them in order to figure out, okay, how do I need to be showing up? How do I best work? How can I manage my energy? How can I create more energy? When am I meant to work? When am I meant to rest? How hard do I really need to work for something? And it really starts to not only take off this pressure of needing to show up at 100% all the time, which is exhausting. And again, this is like the producing mode that our linear model of success in society teaches us and conditions us to work within, but it also begins to expand the way that we see time. It expands the way that we view success and the way that we feel like we need to show up for success. And again, also releases this really like deeply rooted mindset of the more I do, the more I can create. And this pressure of like, if I'm not constantly working towards my goals, somehow that means that I don't care about them enough, or it somehow means that it's not important to me. I'm not proving that I want it badly enough. And it comes just with so much of this pressure. And so that begins to shift, right? And so looking at the way that we're taught to work right now, and I love this analogy, it really is like we are working in a sun-based society when we as women with wombs are actually meant to follow the cycle of the moon. And this again, like we can go into like the different levels in which this analogy applies, but like the sun society is literally a 24-hour cycle, right? Like the sun goes through a 24-hour cycle every single day, moving from morning to noon to evening to night, and then it repeats again the next day. And this is also what happens in the hormonal systems for males. So they go through a 24-hour hormonal system. And if we look at how our society in terms of work is structured, it's around this 24-hour system. And it doesn't have to be inherently wrong. I personally believe that the added layers of conditioning around our mindset and the way that we are taught to show up and work, that's like another level of things. And those are definitely tied together with this linear model of success or like this sun based way of working. But it's not, there's more to it. It's not inherently wrong or inherently bad. However, when we have bodies within us as women, so women with wombs, we actually go through a 28-day cycle in alignment with the moon. And so our structure in society and the way that we're taught to work isn't set up for that, right? It's set up for this 24-hour Sunday cycle. And so shifting into that is not only a revolution against how we've been conditioned to show up, and it can feel very uncomfortable because no one else technically in our society is really like advocating for this or like at the top down system wise really helping implement this. And that's where the revolution ends up starting with us individually in the ways that we can implement it in our daily lives. And that's where understanding the fact that you're a cyclical being and understanding these three codes, so the moon, your womb, and the seasons, are so incredibly powerful in creating this revolution, first and foremost for yourself in your own life, right? And this is so much bigger than, you know, these small like changes that happen throughout the day. This creates a bigger shift and a collective mindset shift in terms of how we work, how we're conditioned to show up, and so on. But it also creates a massive shift for you in your own life because basically what's happening, if we have always been taught to work this one way and we think that this is the right way, but we're feeling the effects of it. So we're feeling drained, we're feeling low on energy, we're feeling potentially burnt out. I know myself, I was in a burnout cycle where I was like, oh my God, I'm on top of everything. And then the next day I would be like completely crashed. I would be completely overwhelmed. And I like really pendulum swung between these two. And the key factor for me there was I was implementing strategies like time management strategies, Pomodoro method, like productivity hacks that I thought would help me be more on top of things and therefore be able to like manage everything in this 24-hour cycle. And in the end, it just pendulum swung me or like pushed me even further into burnout because it was like doing more to try and manage more as opposed to pausing and working with my body. So this is actually what the revolution comes down to. This is why these codes are so powerful, because this revolution is about you. This revolution is about your body and bringing your body back into the way that you're working, bringing your whole being back into the way that you're showing up to holistically approach your success and the things that you want to create. And this brings me back to the point that I made at the very beginning, and this is where we're going to wrap up. But when we focus on the things that we want to create, I want you to just focus on one thing that you want right now. What is the next level goal? Maybe it's a business related goal or a career related goal. Maybe it's a personal goal, like a health goal or a relationship goal. And just bring that goal to mind right now. And why do you want that goal? What is this goal going to give you? And if you, for example, are like, I want to sign more clients in my business, or I want to land this dream job or get this promotion, your why might be something like, well, I want to make more money, or I want this position in the company, or I want to take on more responsibility. And now I want you to ask yourself, what feeling do you want to feel when you have that outcome? Because this is so key, and this is the point that the linear success completely misses out on most of the time. But the reason you want the goal that you want is, of course, the physical manifestation of that goal, which is like the money that you get, or the job, or the position, or the status, like the physical thing. And the second reason you want it is because what it's going to give you, this feeling frequency that you're going to be able to experience in your life. So that could be stability if it's money, or security. It could be abundance. It could be the feeling of freedom, having more time, having more energy, like feeling energized in your life. Getting really clear on this feeling frequency, as I call it, is so key, because that is the missing piece to actually creating that outcome that you want. And the way that I teach you to do that is by putting these cyclical strategies into place, by unlocking your cyclical codes. Because when we do that, we change the way that we're showing up now, and we actually create this space to feel those feelings now. Right? If we're just going to continue working in the same structure that we've always been working in, with the same heightened level of stress that we've always been feeling, and it's going to continue to create those same feelings of overwhelm and anxiety. Am I good enough? Is this really for me? Should I be doing more? All of these feelings and the beliefs that go along with these feelings, we're simply going to continue to perpetuate more of that. Does that make sense? And so having a cyclical strategy for how you show up then starts to shift your mindset around it. It starts to expand your time where you feel like you have enough time. It starts to re-energize you, vamp up your energy, show you how to tap into limitless energy so that you can continue to have more of that. And again, that opens you up to actually being in a frequency or in a feeling state where you can feel those things now. Right? The point of life is not to get to the end to have the feeling. You want to be able to live your life to the fullest now. You want to be able to bask and shower yourself in those feelings of enjoying life right now. And that is what I call your freedom frequency. So if this is speaking to you, if you're ready to activate these codes in your life, my signature Sacred Success course, Rest for Success, is on sale right now for 13% off, only until September 22nd. So I highly encourage you to get in on that. There's some other bonuses that you get at this point as well. All the information to Rest for Success is through the link in my bio. I'm also going to post some more information on the replay down in the description below. But this is really where I take you through a really clear 3-step process to activate your cyclical success strategy. This is where we are putting these foundations for igniting flow into place so that you can align yourself with the sacred success that you want, meaning we're not in a state of stress around this success. We are in a state of this feels good, this process feels good, and aligning yourself with that frequency of that outcome that you want. And like I said before, this is where you begin to revolutionize the way that you work. And in turn, you alchemize success that's actually aligned with you, for you. And this is where the revolution starts to ripple out into the collective. And it starts with us changing the way that we do things. And truly, this is a foundation not just for one specific goal that you're setting. This is like a wash, rinse, and repeat strategy that you can take and use over and over and over again. And it is quite literally the foundation for how you show up and live your life. I honestly think that I read this, or I watched a video on this, but I say this all the time, and I love seeing other people reiterate that. But it is coming down to the point that how you do something is so much more important than what you are doing. And that is what we're shifting, how you are working, how you're setting up the foundations for flowing with life as opposed to fighting against it. Okay. And that is what opens you up to actually creating the outcomes and the results and the kind of success that you want. So I'm going to leave it there. That was day 2 of this 3-part code series. I'm going to be back here again tomorrow, same time, and we're going to dive into cracking these cyclical codes, or the codes for becoming magnetic AF to the actual goals that you are wanting to call in, and how we do that. So thank you for joining me. The replay is going to be posted. Let me know in the comments how this resonated with you and what a revolution like this could look like and mean in your life. Sending you so much love. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. And I'll see you soon.